Soul Eater is one of the few unconventional battle manga that I know of. When watching it, it felt very different from the majority of manga in the battle subgenre. This is due to the writing style and the way it doesn't use certain tropes that are popular in its subgenre. The first thing that makes it different is the length of the arcs. Typically, battle manga have medium or long arcs. A medium arc might be around 12 episodes, while a long one might be over 25. Soul Eater, however, uses very short arcs and occasionally includes longer ones that include multiple characters and fights. The first 4 arcs are each 3 episodes long. The next 2 are 2 episodes long. The next is a more important arc with 8 episodes. Then next is 3 episodes, then 1, then 3 again. At this point, the anime begins to take a different route than the manga, but approximating 1 monthly chapter as equal to 1 episode. There are only 2 arcs that would reach 10 episodes, the Salvage arc and the Dark Side of the Moon arc, which is the final arc. Using the same approximation, a fully canon anime would only be 113 episodes, which is also short for a battle manga. The next thing that makes this story unconventional is how it switches out protagonists for its arcs. Many battle manga usually have one protagonist who remains as the biggest focus throughout the arcs. While some stories like Naruto may have arcs that have a different character as the protagonist of that arc, it doesn't happen very often. In Soul Eater, it happens a lot. Maka is usually the main character. In the first arc, each episode or chapter focuses on a different protagonist. Black Star is the protagonist of the Uncanny Sword arc, the Bodyguard arc, the second half of the Witch's Research arc, and the first half of the Business Lunch arc. Kid is the main character of the Black Dragon arc, and along with Black Star, he's the main character of the Excalibur episode and chapter at the end of the Demon Sword arc. Killick and Kim are protagonists at the start of the Witch's Research arc. Each of these arcs usually have some kind of character development for their protagonist. The next trick would be how there is usually one antagonist per arc. Battle manga usually have large antagonist groups that allow many of the supporting cast to have battles during the arcs, but Soul Eater goes about this differently. Some of the longer arcs like Anniversary Celebration, Brew, and Baba Yaga Castle have multiple antagonists, but the short ones have a minor character who is usually introduced and defeated in that arc. Examples would be Blair, Masamune, the Flying Dutchman, and the Oldest Golem. For recurring characters, Krona is the single antagonist in the Demon Sword arc, Free is the one antagonist in the Experiment arc, and Mifune is the one enemy in the Bodyguard arc. The next trait is the small-scale goal for the main duo. The main goal of the protagonists in the battle manga is usually large in scale, like being number 1 in something. But in Soul Eater, Soul wants to become a Death Scythe, and Maka wants to become a Death Scythe Meister. All they need to do is collect 99 souls and 1 witch's soul. The goal is so small that they almost completed it in the first chapter and episode. Maka and Soul actually accomplished this goal in chapter 62 at the end of the Baba Yaga Castle arc. Next is the size of the cast. Battle manga usually have a large cast of characters, but Soul Eater keeps it pretty small. The main cast would be the primary and secondary trios and their weapons, Death, Stein, and Spirit. The recurring antagonists are Medusa's group, Arachnophobia, and the Kishin. It rarely introduces new recurring characters that play major roles until around the Salvage arc. The last trait would be the low focus on the power system and training. Battle manga are known to create intricate and detailed power systems, along with intense training to improve these powers and their bodies. In Soul Eater, the power system for Meisters and weapons is mostly related to soul resonance, but what it can and can't do is pretty vague. For example, Maka, Black Star, and Kid all have unrelated soul resonance attacks with very little explanation. The only similarity is that their weapon changes shape. Then the secondary trio of Ox, Killick, and Kim have a different similarity between their attacks, which is elemental manipulation. On top of that, witches use magic, which is even more vague than soul resonance. As stated before, characters rarely train for new abilities. Uncanny Sword mode was gained after defeating Masamune. Majin Hunt was unlocked mid-battle due to courage. Black Blood was given to Soul by Krona and Medusa, and the list goes on. Black Star is one of the only ones who trained. He had to train to be able to use Uncanny Sword mode without getting exhausted. Then he trained to get the new Shadow Star weapons. In conclusion, Soul Eater does things differently, which makes it stand out, but these traits are advantageous to the kind of story that it was trying to tell. A small cast, small arcs, and single antagonists allow for the story to feel well-paced and get through a lot of content in the short amount of time that the story lasts. Having a big cast or bigger arcs would make the story very long, but this clearly wasn't the author's intention. Switching protagonists allows side characters to get screen time and development since most arcs are short and don't include too many characters or fights. The small-scale goal also complements the short story well. Most of these unconventional decisions make sense for a shorter battle manga. None of these traits make it inherently better than the typical battle manga, just different.